This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Indonesia searchers locate black box recorders in crashed plane. Ethiopia arrests TPLF leader alongside 8 former officials. And China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi completes Africa tour after an official visit to Seychelles. Hello and welcome to Africa Live. I'm Mahaia Mutua in Nairobi. Also coming up, 4 people die after a boat capsizes in Congo River. And South Africa's medical schemes to subsidize COVID-19 vaccine costs. Welcome to the program. Now, authorities in Indonesia say they have pinpointed the location of the black boxes from the passenger jet that crashed in the Java Sea. 62 people were on board when the plane went down minutes after takeoff. CGTN's Silkina Aluwalia reports from Jakarta.
Indonesia is dealing with yet another chapter in its poor aviation history, following the crash of a Boeing aircraft under Sriwijaya Air. Flight 182 was carrying 62 passengers and crashed into the waters off of Jakarta just 4 minutes after takeoff. Sriwijaya Air CEO said that the particular airplane have flown many times before and recorded no technical difficulties before the accident.
Based on the information I have, the plane was in good condition when it was flown from Pontianak, Pangkal, Penang, and this was the second route back to Pontianak. There shouldn't have been any problem, and the maintenance report was also fine.
Investigations are currently underway to find out exactly what happened to the flight just minutes before it went down.
I have asked authorities to prioritize the search of the passengers, and we hope that we can speed this up in the coming days. I offer my sincerest condolences to everyone involved, and we are all praying for those affected by this tragedy.
Although Indonesia has had a couple of fatal crashes and minor collisions in the past decade, its aviation industry has been making positive strides. In recent years, Indonesia has completely transformed its airline industry, passing tests and international audits, making it up to par with international standards. As more affordable, low-cost airlines like Sriwijaya Air enter the local market, frequency of domestic travel will continue to increase each day, and travelers need to know that their safety will always remain a priority. Silkina Aluwalia, CGTN, Jakarta.
The Ethiopian National Defense Forces have announced that they have apprehended Sebehat Nega, one of the main founders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front and a chief strategist of the rebel group. The military also said 8 other former top officials of the TPLF, including the former regional council speaker, as well as regional bureau heads, have also been arrested in central Tigray. Here is CGTN's Girum Chala with more details.
The top TPLF leadership, including its founder Sebehat Nega, seen here handcuffed, were apprehended in central Tigray's rugged terrain. Also seen here are 8 other former top office holders arrested, such as the ex-regional council speaker, former Ethiopian ambassador to Sudan, and bureau heads of the regional state.
As per the orders given to us, we have been executing the job of hunting down these criminals 24/7. As per the information we got from people here, we have finally managed to arrest them. The place where we have found them is difficult for people to survive.
This is seen as a major milestone in the efforts of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government to wrap up what it has called a law and order enforcement mission in the region. It's also an important step in plans to bring the TPLF leadership accused of orchestrating the deadly attack on the National Defense Force Northern Command base to justice. The army has said that the hunt targeting the former president of the regional administration, Debretsion Gebremichael, continues.
The people of Tigray have no more allegiance with these people. People are tired of the TPLF leadership and do not want to cooperate with them. Besides that, people around here have been pretty much cooperative with us by delivering valuable information to our members daily.
On the other hand, Tigray remains by and large peaceful, and people are leading their daily lives normally in different parts of the region. Many, including organizations like the UN, are vocal about the humanitarian situation in the northern territory of Ethiopia. They say there are places that are inaccessible due to ongoing conflicts in some pockets. The government is of a different opinion, however. It maintains that the delivery of relief services, repatriation work and rehabilitation programs are all going on smoothly. Grumtara CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say 4 people have died after an overcrowded boat they were traveling in capsized along the Congo River in the northeastern city of Kisangani. Boat accidents are common in the DRC due to overloading. CGTN's Chris Ochamringa has more.
A large motorized wooden canoe capsized in the Congo River on Saturday night with more than 100 passengers on board. The boat was traveling at night to a village called Lokutu from the northeastern city of Kisangani. Government authorities say 4 people were found dead, but fear the death toll could be higher. A local official told CGTN that more than 70 people died and many others are still missing. An eyewitness says one of the passengers loaded 600 bags of cement and metallic bars, which exceeded the maximum load of the vessel. The accident happened 3 days after another boat capsized in Lake Kivu in eastern DRC with 50 people on board. Boat accidents are common in the DRC due to overloading and the poor condition of vessels. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Let's shift our focus to Somalia now, where the national government and regional governments have endorsed the country's elections. Prime Minister Hussein Roble has announced that the polls will commence in 4 regional administrations later this month. The polls had initially been postponed 3 times last year. Here is CGTN's Abdulaziz Bilo with that report.
The federal government has granted the Electoral Commission the green light to hold general elections that have been marred by delays and resistance from members of the opposition. The country's Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble made the announcement after meeting regional leaders from Galmudug, Hirshabelle, Southwest and the governor of the Benadir region.
The federal government has decided to commence the implementation of the election to avoid further delays that may jeopardize the accomplishment of the electoral agreements that was reached on September 17, 2020.
No new dates have been announced yet, but the Federal Elections Implementation Unit had previously announced that the Senate elections will take place from the 7th to 15th January. This is after the polls were postponed 3 times last year.
It's important for the Somali people to strengthen their state building and protect the gains made in recent years. In order to achieve this and hold transparent elections every 4 years, we all must stand up to further bolster the democratic system of governance.
Elsewhere, opposition politicians have warned against partial polls, a move they say could jeopardize the country's peace and stability.
The electoral process should be a clear and transparent process, one that creates confidence and is based on clear consensus, trust and a general understanding among stakeholders.
Jubaland and Puntland are yet to confirm their participation in the polls. The 2 regional states and the opposition parties have accused the government of seeking to alter the outcome of the upcoming elections. Jubaland wants the federal government to pull out its forces from the Gedo region, one of 2 election venues planned for the regional states. Mogadishu says their forces are there to counter Al-Shabaab and to protect the polls and ensure a peaceful voting exercise.
There is a need for dialogue among all stakeholders to agree on contentious electoral issues, address them together, and agree on an electoral process that's fair, inclusive, and participatory to all stakeholders.
Meanwhile, the term of the current Parliament and Senate expired last month. According to the Somali constitution, both houses of Parliament must be formed before presidential elections takes place. Analysts, however, say that unless a political solution is reached very soon, it's likely that the process will drag in the months ahead. Abdulaziz Bilo, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has completed his visit to Africa on Saturday after touring the island of Seychelles. He also visited Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Botswana and Tanzania during the tour aimed at strengthening development, economic and security ties. CGTN's Enoch Sikolia looks at the relationship between China and Africa and what this latest visit could spell for both the African continent and China.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi was here with the message that China's friendship and care for Africa is unwavering. His visit, which comes at a time when many of Africa's economies have been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, also served to reassure the people of Africa that they could rely on China's support. Forging stronger and mutually beneficial ties, as well as battling against the COVID-19 pandemic, were top on the agenda.
It is important that the first visit of the minister per year is to Africa, which sends a very strong message.
China's presence and influence on the African landscape is growing exponentially, from expanding railway lines, highways and building energy generation projects, including hydropower and geothermal ones. Chinese firms are leaving their footprints on the continent. These projects have been backed by the Chinese government. Infrastructure projects, especially those in the energy and transport sectors, are key enablers of economic growth. Professor Mahaia Mutua of the United States International University in Nairobi says Africa struggled on this front until China stepped into the picture.
The developments taking place were not taking place before the Chinese showed serious interest in doing so. And when there is that development concern, it is good for African countries because they open up the countries, they increase the level of security, economic activities, and they open up the global horizons to many parts of Africa.
The China-Africa relationship has been on a steady rise, and the support the African countries have been receiving from the People's Republic of China has seemingly added flavor to that relationship.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi has assured the leadership of the 5 countries that Africa remains a priority for China. His visit coincides with Africa's struggle to get much-needed COVID-19 vaccines, with Western manufacturers placing Africa down the pecking order in the distribution of their vaccines. Some countries are shifting their search to China. Already Morocco and Egypt have sought vaccines from Chinese companies, and Kenya too is seeking the same.
And the COVID-19 has helped to reinforce mutual reliance between the African countries and China on things that matter. Containing the pandemic is one of them, but continuous economic interaction is another, and of course the political interaction.
The Belt and Road Initiative, which is China's international flagship project, was also at the center of discussions. The visit by the foreign minister comes at a time China continues to outflank and outspend Western countries on the continent. The Chinese government has sunk millions of dollars, much of it in loans, for infrastructure projects which African countries desperately needed. China is also keen on supporting the continent on the military front, even as African nations continue to battle insurgents such as Somalia's Al-Shabaab and Nigeria's Boko Haram. Enoch Sikolia, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
You're watching Africa Live here on CGTN. Stay with us as we take a short break. Here's what's coming up when we return. South Africa's medical schemes to subsidize COVID-19 vaccine costs. And China's Hebei province reports 40 new cases, saying to launch second round of mass testing.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo, Juba, Johannesburg, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. Now, millions of South Africans will have their COVID-19 vaccinations subsidized by some leading medical aid schemes in the country. The schemes have backed a national effort to seek less costly COVID-19 vaccines from international suppliers. This is part of a government public-private partnership aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19. CGTN's Yolisa Njamila brings us the details.
South Africa is racing to acquire vaccines to immunize 67% of the population. According to the Health Ministry, the intention is to create a herd immunity against the coronavirus at least by the end of the year. So far, the country has procured 1 million doses of a COVID-19 vaccine, a far cry from the ultimate goal. So, some leading medical aid schemes have now stepped in. Discovery Health is one of them. The private health scheme will subsidize about 30% of the population for coronavirus vaccination once the jabs become available.
The medical scheme funding by law is obliged to fund for vaccinations for medical scheme members. So that's somewhere around 7.1 million medical scheme members will then receive funding for vaccination as part of that mechanism. In addition to that, there's a cross-subsidization mechanism that means that medical schemes will match fund for an additional 7.1 million people in the broader public sector. So not only will medical schemes fund for 7.1 million medical scheme beneficiaries, but will also fund for 7.1 million public sector beneficiaries.
For each person who belongs to a medical aid scheme who is immunized, an uninsured person will also be covered. The medical aid schemes have committed to purchasing the vaccines for more than their standard price.
From a Discovery Health perspective and a broader medical scheme environment perspective, I think we recognize the need for us to act in social solidarity to help get everyone in South Africa vaccinated, or at least get everyone access to vaccines in South Africa. So we've collaborating with government, we're pooling resources and funding and pooling capabilities so that we've got the best shot at accelerating the procurement of vaccine for all South Africans.
At least one public health expert says with all this funding, the rollout strategy of the vaccines will be critical.
Medical schemes will cover a large portion of the costs. They've even offered to pay for the non-medical scheme members in South Africa. So people not covered by insurance will be donated funds in order to get access. So I think that the main issue really is what is the rollout strategy and how is that to be organized. But right now, it's fine making the funds available, but you've got to get access to doses. You've got to get agreements in place.
Despite the medical aid scheme's efforts, a section of the population will still need to be financially covered in terms of access to the vaccine. Government has established a vaccine acquisition task team to deal with the problem. The mandate of the task team is to assist the country in pulling together financial resources to fill the gap. Yolisa Njamila for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Dozens of new cases continue to emerge in the northern Chinese province of Hebei. It reported 40 new infections on Sunday, all in its largest city of Shijiazhuang, which has been locked down. It, along with 2 other nearby cities, have ordered residents to now stay home for another week as authorities prepare to roll out a second round of mass testing. 364 infections were found in the first round. Overall, China reported 69 new cases on Saturday on the mainland. About a third were people arriving from abroad. Our reporter Ning Hong has the latest.
The Shandong City has upgraded the containment measures starting from Saturday, including suspending all buses, taxis, and subways. And we are now standing on the street, a major street in the city, and you can see it's 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's almost empty with few cars passing by. So most people are now staying at home in their community. And also, in the meantime, the supplies, like the story before my life, in the meantime, people are sending supplies into communities to ensure that people have enough supplies for the rest of few days. And in the meantime, the city has upgraded the further numbers, including the complete results of the massive nucleic acid testing results in Shijiazhuang and Xingtai City, and also in another city in Dingzhou and Xinji City near Shijiazhuang. A thorough investigation is also going on, but so far the Dingzhou and Xinji has shown no positive cases. So the people living or entering the Shandong City is still prohibited, but for those bringing medical staff, bring supplies, and bring essential medicines, etc., they should be allowed, and they're being moved into the city. And we were told that people are moving 500 tons of vegetables into the city every day to ensure that the neighborhoods and also people living in their residential areas to have enough supply.
Well, it's just about time for us to check in on the world of sport. Here's what's coming up.